Welcome back to the lecture series on Introduction to AWS. Today, as part of this lecture series, we will be focusing on Introduction to Amazon EMR. In this, we will be covering what exactly an Amazon EMR is and what are the prerequisites we need to set up in order to work with EMR serverless. So, basically what EMR stands for? It stands for Elastic Map Reduce. When I am saying Elastic Map Reduce, then Map Reduce is a parallel programming model used to process big data, or else we can say this as large and complex data can be processed using MapReduce. So, basically MapReduce is a programming model which is developed to process the data which is stored on a distributed file system such as Hadoop's distributed file system. So, let us see what exactly Amazon EMR serverless is. So, when we are coming to Amazon EMR serverless, it is a deployment option which is provisioned over Amazon to deploy Amazon EMR. Amazon EMR serverless is an option provisioned for Amazon EMR deployment on top of Amazon to provide serverless runtime environment. When I am saying serverless, then it simplifies your work which is required for analytical job or analytical applications, and where for analysis we may use various open source frameworks such as Spark, or else you can say Hive, or else you can say Pig. All these other applications which facilitates you to analyze that huge amount of data, and all these applications are open source and it simplifies your job. How? You need not to focus on to configure the clusters required to process, need not to worry about how to optimize according to your workload or job, need not to focus on how to secure the cluster, neither we need not to operate the clusters in sort of any failure, or if there is a faultiness in the cluster, then serverless environment will take care about it. So, all these are the various parameters where Amazon EMR serverless makes your job execution very simplified. So, what are the benefits we will be getting when we are using EMR serverless? First thing is, automatically determines what sort of resources are required according to a particular application need. It automatically determines about how much resources are needed to execute a particular application. This is the first benefit. Second benefit, what we are going to get is, these resources are going to be provisioned automatically for execution of jobs, and all these resources are based on certain release versions that we are going to talk ahead, but these resources are going to be released as soon as your job is being finished. If you are finished with your analytical job, then those resources which are going to be automatically allocated, those are going to get released. So, over here, based on these points, we can simplify our benefit as we can avoid over or under provisioning of resources. The exact amount of resources are going to be consumed, not the over or not the under, for processing the jobs. Coming to the Amazon EMR serverless, these are the concepts which you are you should be aware of. What is a release version, what is application, what is job, workers, pre-configured capacity and EMR Studio. Let us see one by one. So, coming to release version, even and then in a open source framework there is a release version for all the open source applications. Coming to Amazon EMR serverless, this release version will have various open source applications required for various big data ecosystem, such as you may get Spark so and so version 2.0 or else Hive 1.2.2 or 1.2.7. These are the various versions which are going to be interlinked with each other, and these are going to be provisioned. These open source frameworks are going to be provisioned under various release versions, because here we require different applications or different components or different features to process your big data. According to the need, these versions are going to be released into the market, and you can choose, or when you are going to create an application, you have to choose when you are going to create the application, then you need to check with the version, which version you do require. That is one parameter or one attribute which is required while creating an application. Along with that, you need to be specific with the runtime environment which is required to execute your application. So, meanwhile, you can create any number of applications, that is serverless applications at a time, multiple are allowed to for different tasks. So, what is job run? Job run is nothing but once you have configured the entire application setup, then you are going to submit your job to run it on the application server, serverless. For example, if you want to go with Hive application, then you need to submit the Hive query using HiveQL. If you want to submit an application to Spark, then you need to submit the script of PySpark. So, over here you are going to write your jobs in concerned programming language, and you are going to submit it to the application with certain open source framework. This application is tied with Spark, this application is tied with Hive. Next, when you are going to submit your job, how this serverless EMR serverless will execute those jobs. For execution purpose, Amazon EMR uses worker nodes, and these are the worker nodes which exactly executes your job in the backend. Workers are used to execute your workloads in the background, which is been abstracted from us, and these worker nodes are going to be selected by default by your application. It means that how many worker nodes are going to be there, what will be the size of the worker node, the configuration, all these are going to be dependent on what sort of job you are submitting to the cluster. And these computes or the resources which are used for these applications are going to be scheduled in a proper manner. The schedulers are going to be working, and as soon as you are coming to the capacity of this particular worker nodes or serverless, these you can use pre-configured provision from Amazon, pre-configured capacity of resources, or else you can create your pre-configured capacity of resources according to the job which you are going to execute. By this pre-configured capacity of resources or clusters, what you can achieve is you can start immediately for iterative applications or time sensitive jobs by this pre-initialized capacity servers. Last thing, EMR Studio. This is just like an ID, integrated development environment, which comes with a console, user console, where you can manage various EMR applications through this console you can manage various applications which are running or which has been already run in past. And if you do not have this studio, when you are going to log in for the first time for serverless, this EMR studio will not be available. At that point of time you need to create this studio. How you are going to create? At the time when you are going to create your first EMR application. When you are going to create your first EMR application, at that time itself you can click on EMR studio and you can click on get started to create your EMR studio. We will be having a button get started, you have to click on get started to create your EMR studio. Second thing, what are the prerequisites which you have to set for EMR serverless? These are the 4 different things which you need to set up priorly for EMR serverless. All these 4 we had done in our past sessions. One is to sign up to Amazon using an management console. You need to create your own account on Amazon AWS. Once you had signed up, then you need to create a IAM user. User means IAM user, that we had already seen in our past session how to create an IAM user, as well as we had seen how to attach the policy. Here you need to attach the policy administrative use access. The user which you are creating, for him you need to attach a policy with administrative access role. Then you need to grant the permissions. Granting permissions, it does means that when you are using EMR serverless, then this EMR serverless will communicate with which particular services, just like S3 or else SNS, simple notification service. Which other services you are going to take into consideration? Just like if I am using this, then I may store my data set in S3, or else I may store the script. Which script? PySpark script or else Hive script. All these scripts I can store in S3 bucket, or else I can store data sets on S3, or else I can store my output which is generated after analytics to S3. So EMR serverless needs to talk with S3. So for that you need to provide the permissions. And how we can provide this? Using roles. That also we had seen in our past sessions, how to create an IAM role. Then how to install and configure your CLI. That also we have done when we are discussing our storage S3. We had installed Amazon AWS CLI and we had configured. After installing AWS CLI, we need to configure the settings, that is security credentials. So that is it from this particular topic.